20% of footballers retire because of knee pain. It's majorly due to this one thing that they're lacking.
If we take a closer look into why most knee injuries happen, where most knee injuries happen, what's actually going on there, and why do so many people really struggle with that, we can notice a good pattern, right? And if you look at studies as well, it's clear-cut evidence there, okay? Most of the injuries happen when people are changing direction, when they're slowing down, when they're landing from a jump, when they're landing a weird way. All of these things for us go into deceleration.
Deceleration, force absorption, whatever you want to call it, footballers have an imbalance of what they are training. So in this video today, we are going to break down exactly how deceleration happens and how we can prevent the injuries by training 3 areas. If you look at the best decelerators in football, for example, Lionel Messi, what you will always see is that the heel slams the ground, the tib is used to lower the forefoot, hamstrings are used for the deceleration, then the load goes into the knee and they push off with their VMO. Messi's VMOs are freaking jacked.
They literally look like balloons. And while this might be really simplified, it is actually what happens, right? If you take that closer look, you will see that human bodies will slow down in the same way every single time, right? And you also see where most injuries happen. It is when one of these areas are not strong enough, or when the foot and the knee don't work together like they should be. So the goal with these exercises that we're about to show you is to get those areas to get stronger, but also to work together in a more efficient way, so you don't get these freak injuries just randomly appear. Because if you're getting stronger, if you want to get more explosive, you want to make sure that you're able to absorb and navigate these forces in an effective and safe way.
So the knee joint is super important for deceleration. The hip joint is super important for acceleration. There's 4 times more money being spent on acceleration than there is on deceleration. So there's no wonder why we have 20% of footballers retire because of knee injury.
And the crazy thing is that if you actually then look at the statistics, or what actually happens in a game, you will see that there is more high intensity decelerations performed in competitive match play than there is acceleration.
So how do we actually prepare and get super strong in deceleration as well as acceleration? First thing that we want to do is start training our lower legs in balance. The tibialis muscle is one I never see football players train. However, our foot is the first thing that touches the ground, and the force is going to travel up into the tibialis. If the tibialis is weak, those forces are going to bypass the tibialis and go straight up into the knee.
So there's different ways you can train the tib. The simplest way is just to go up onto the wall, put your butt against the wall, put your hands onto your thighs, and start raising your toes towards your shin, right? If you go for 20 reps there, you will start feeling the burn, and you will start realizing, oh, there's actually a muscle there in my shin, right? So I've been doing all these calf raises, but I've completely ignored the muscle in the front, which is the muscle that we're trying to strengthen here. It's always going to be the same motion. So if you have some weight that you can start adding there over time, you can do this with a kettlebell attached to your foot. You can do this with a dumbbell wrapped around your foot. You can do this with a tip bar if you have access to it. And there's really no excuse for anybody, because you can just start out with just a wall.
Obviously, this muscle group is smaller than the quads and the hamstrings, so we do want to do less sets. But the tips and the calves aren't something that you just leave to the end of the session. Maybe do them here, maybe not do them there, because you're leaving gains on the table.
And in the end, it's just a math equation whether or not your injury happens, right? So now we need to make sure that not only your tibs are strong, but all the other muscles and ligaments and tendons and connective tissues involved in decelerations are also strong.
And one of the most crucial areas for deceleration is the hamstrings, specifically eccentric hamstring strength, and again specifically knee flexion. So the hamstring does 2 things: it extends the hip and it also flexes the knee. It crosses the knee joint and the hip joint. The majority of players will train their hip extensors way harder than they'll train their knee flexors. They'll also only do hamstring curls and not get to the standards of Nordics that we want. Maybe if they do Nordics, they just lower down, and it's good if you can start lowering down. I can do 30 Nordics in a row. How many can you do, Kadeem?
Up to 10.
Up to 10 Nordics in a row, and you think, okay, I'm going to be protected with just lowering down. No, we want to get to elite standards to actually really protect us.
100%, because when it comes to injuries, there is no thing of, okay, yeah, I just want to do the minimum. You want to do the maximum, because we all know that the most valuable thing as a footballer, and if you really love the game, is to be available, right? So we're not telling you that you cannot get injured anymore just by doing these exercises. What we're telling you though is that you're leaving gains on the table, and that you have so much potential to minimize the risk of injuries by simply working on these areas. So we've broken down how to really progress in a Nordic curl in other videos before, but to give you a simple breakdown again, you want to start by fighting down that eccentric eccentric at your pain-free level. Get a lot of padding under your knees. Make sure you find a setup. There's different ways to set it up. But if you haven't started repping out this exercise yet, this should be the final call for it, right? We really have experienced these knee injuries ourselves, and we don't want people to leave those gains on the table that could help them stay away from knee injuries.
The third area that's super important for deceleration is then the VMO. Like I said before, decelerating is a lot of knees, and the first muscle to contract when the knee is under pressure is your VMO. For years and years and years, we thought that going knees over toes was bad because the study came out in the 1960s saying there was more pressure going on the knee when you're over your toe. They took that as a bad thing, but we now know that the more pressure you actually put on your knee at the level that you can handle it and progress that over time, the stronger your knee is going to be, and in return, the stronger your VMO is going to be.
So if we look at what the VMO actually does for us, it not only supports the knee joint itself, but it makes sure the patella is tracking properly. You gain more stability in your knee joint, and you will see people that are going knees over toes, as we mentioned before, Lionel Messi, their VMOs are going to be freaking massive. And on the other hand, you will see people that have been struggling with chronic knee injuries that their VMOs will be tiny, right?
First area
That they won't be activating, and they struggle to get those back. And so actually getting those VMOs back to life will just give your knee that better feeling. You will feel okay. So how you can actually get started to get that VMO back to life, really build that up again, is something we're going to go deeper in on another video. But to give you a brief idea, it really starts with something as simple as just backwards walking, getting that knee over toe position, having those quad muscles actually activate, then progressing to a step up, then progressing into more long range exercises that really get that full deep knee bend, which we know preferentially trains the VMO. ATG split squat is a good way to progress, and then over time we want to get to full range squats to really bulletproof those knees.
So if you look at your training and you know that you've been training acceleration way more than deceleration, start incorporating this into your workouts and feel more knee stability, more injury resilience, and ability to slow down and change direction.
And if you feel like this might have been a little bit too late for you, don't worry. If you're currently rehabbing from an injury and you want to get back stronger than before, more bulletproof than before, we hosted a free workshop going over how that actually works, and we also work with the serious guys one-to-one to make sure they return back more bulletproof and more confident than they've ever been. For that, just check out the link in the video description, and if you have any other questions, leave them down below in the comment sections. And as always,
This make ballers bulletproof again.
see you in the next video. Bye.
Build those big, fat, juicy Lionel Messi VMOs.
Yeah.